Hi guys, it's Ed here. So in this video, I'm gonna break down a really simple system that allows you to track your nutrition, but without having to count calories. Now look, I've been a coach for almost 20 years now, over 20 years now. And there have been many clients over the years that just did not want to use a tracking calculator or MyFitnessPal to track their nutrition because they either didn't have the time, didn't have the patience, and just needed a system that was a little bit more efficient, quicker, and gave them just as good results. So my goal for you today is to break down that system that's really easy to implement and anyone can do it. You don't need technology, you don't need anything fancy or any fancy apps. And it's a system that's been around for many years. It was actually put together by Precision Nutrition, I believe, many years ago. And it's something that I've used with my clients for years. You know, some guys love the tracking and love the data of the macro, the micronutrient, but some just haven't got the time or the patience to do that. So they implement this system, which I'm about to share with you today. So what we're going to do is we are going to jump onto the computer. I'm going to load the software that I use to manage my clients and coach my private clients, and then that has a really good breakdown of how to implement it and what it is you need to know about it. So let's head to the computer and let's go through it together. Right guys, let's rock and roll. So I've just added myself as a client in my coaching app. This is the app that I use for my private coaching clients, and let me show you this system. So if I go into habits and then click new, habits, and then portion guidelines. Right, this is where things get interesting. Now ignore this for the time being because this is basically talking about quantities, but let's look at this bit here. So how are we going to track our nutrition without using a calculator? Super simple, we're going to use our hands, right? Now, as you can see here, we're going to basically, here are the 3 macronutrients and then veggies that we're going to track. So carbohydrates, we're going to use a hand, which is going to make like a little cup, and we are going to put a small portion that kind of fits our hand like this. Now let's look at some carbs that we can include in this portion. So we've got some fruit, potatoes, sweet potatoes, things like artichoke, and then you've got things like squash, quinoa, brown rice, oats, grains, beans, and legumes. So these are some examples of complex carbohydrates. Okay, other things that you could include would be things like bananas. Well, they're not complex, but it's still a carbohydrate. What else? You could use some sweet potato, normal potato, maybe even a slice of bread. But the idea is that any food that comes under a carbohydrate, you're having 1 hand cup full. Okay. Now, when it comes to your protein down here, we're now going to open the palm and it's going to be a serving size of roughly this sort of dimensions. Now, when it comes to lean proteins, we're looking at things like lean red meat, beef, pork, wild game, poultry, chicken, turkey, duck. Be careful with duck because it can have quite a bit of fat. And then fish, cottage cheese. Yeah, good luck getting that in your palm. Some eggs, tofu, right? So this gives you an idea of some lean proteins, but essentially you're looking to open your palm and to have something roughly of that size, okay? Now fats, we're using the thumb here. Now the reason why you might be thinking, well, why are fats so small compared to carbohydrates and protein? Now, in case you don't know, 1 gram of carbohydrate and protein only has 4 calories. 1 gram of fat has 9. Therefore, if your goal is to lose weight and you don't want to go over your calories, then it makes sense that you don't follow a very high fat diet because otherwise you cannot eat much volume of food. On the contrary, if you want to bulk up and add some muscle and increase your weight, then it makes sense to add more fats to your diet because they are more calorie dense. So therefore you're going to reach your calorie goal a lot quicker. without having to eat tons and tons of food. So now, of course, there are some limitations to this. For example, how do you work out, olive oil, which is a good fat, with your thumb? Well, the truth is you can't, but it gives you an idea of how much it would look like in the spoon, for example. So if we hover over here, then we can see some healthy fats include things like some nuts, almonds, walnuts, cashews, butter, nut butters, seeds, extra virgin olive oil, avocados, coconut milk, cold pressed oils, fatty fish like salmon and mackerel. So again, the reason why we're not having crazy amounts of fats and then they're a lot smaller is purely because of their caloric value. But then I'll show you on here how we can all change that. And then a fist size of vegetables. Now guys, I can guarantee that almost every person watching this video is deficient in eating veggies. They don't eat enough, including myself actually. So veggies is something that is so good, especially if you're looking to lose weight. Why is this? Because they do not have many calories and they fill you up. They're very fibrous and they will fill up your stomach and make you feel full. Having high veggies is a great way to kind of help with a fat loss diet. So things like cauliflower, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, tomatoes, sweet bell peppers, pak choi, kale, green beans, sweet peas, and eggplant. Or as we call it in the UK, aubergine. Sounds a bit weird, doesn't it? But that's basically it. Is you're using your palms and your hands to dictate kind of portion size. Now, what I like to do with my clients is say, cool. So let's just imagine someone is on a weight loss plan. I'll give you two examples, right? Let's do a weight loss plan. Let's say that this client is aiming for around 2,000 calories a day. And let's say I want them to eat 3 meals a day with these portion guidelines. So I'm going to say, I want you to have 1 portion of carbohydrates per meal. I want to have 2 palms of proteins. I want to have 1 of fat and 1 of veggies. So straight away here, they're going to be following something like a high protein diet, moderate carb, low fat, right? So now let's say 3 meals a day to make it nice and simple. Now let's say that this person wanted to go on a muscle building plan, right? I could do this. I could increase this to 4, for example, or still leave it at 3. It's totally down to preference. And I would say, right, we're going to increase the fats to say 2. We're going to also increase the carbs and we're going to leave the veggies where they are. So 3 meals a day, we're going to have 2 portions of this sort of size here. We're going to have 2 palms of protein, 2 of fat. So this meal automatically is going to be a lot more calorific than the one previous to this one, because we've increased the portion sizes. And then what I would do if it was me, and let's say I wanted to lose fat, I would make note of the portion guidelines that you're having at each meal, and then, well, weigh yourself before you start. Follow this plan. Let's just go back to fat loss. I would do this. I would go maybe even up the veggies, but let's just keep it simple for now. 3 meals. I would go 1 portion of carbs, 2 of protein, 1 of fat, 1 of veggies, 3 meals a day. I would weigh myself on day 1. I would follow this plan for 7 days, weigh yourself again. And what has happened? If your weight remains the same, then you need to somehow decrease these. Maybe you need to do only, I would like to leave the protein up. I would try this actually first. You still want some fats, you still want some carbohydrates. And then run it for another week and see what happens. Has your weight dropped? It has. By how much? Has it been too aggressive? Is it going too slow? And then essentially you come back to this and you keep fine tuning it until you get your, average weight loss. The guys in my plan normally lose between 1.2 to 2 pounds a week of body fat, but I like to remain conservative and say 1.5 or 0.7 kilograms. I think is good for a weight loss target weekly. So then you just come back to this and you adjust this, right? How were your energy levels? They're really flat. Well, I would then maybe increase this to 2 and leave that at 2 as well. But what you're using is you're using your hands as a guideline of how your plate should look. So this is super, super simple. As long as you keep to the same measurements and you're doing things the same each week and each day, then even if it's a little bit off, as long as that system remains the same throughout the weeks, and then you adjust that, then you're going to get the result. So it's a really simple system that you can try. And as I said, I would say probably about 50% of my clients use this system. It's super easy, and you're going to learn a lot about portion control as well. And then in case you're wondering, this here is for when I schedule these meals for my clients on their weekly planner. So there you have it. Precision Nutrition came up with this. It's really easy, super easy to follow, and you can just use these guidelines here. So 1 cup of carbohydrates, 1 palm of protein, 1 thumb of fats, and then veggies is a fistful here. All right, guys. Now look, if you have any questions, then feel free to reach out or add them in the comments below. Or if you're someone that has been struggling for a while and you want to know a little bit more about how we can make this bespoke for yourself and potentially, you and I can work together, then also you can reach out on the link found in the description of this video. But as always, give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.